And I thought I'd show you first of all a not a video, but I've got a PowerPoint. Let me just get this up. See if I can.
Leave it like that.
Now, can you see the PowerPoint, folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, good. That's progress. It doesn't seem to like, Zoom doesn't seem to like Prezi presentations. So I'm back to good old-fashioned PowerPoint tonight. So welcome everybody. I thought we'd start with our newfound tradition of any good news. Anybody got any breakthroughs or anything to report on applying the material that we've covered so far? Don't make me pick on you.
I don't know where to start. I mean, as you say, things happen so quickly. So yeah, every chance I get, I use the techniques that we're learning.
Yes.
Sort of time boxing. I do find Trello very useful.
Yes.
And as projects go, I've moved from working in the office to finishing a kitchen in my house.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
I've been thinking about you a lot, Brian. I don't know if you noticed one of my comments, my replies to one of your comments, but you're an avid notebook user, aren't you?
Well, Trello is starting to become a friend of mine. I quite like it. Yeah.
I didn't mean to seduce you away from your notebook, Brian.
No, I still put the initial list down on paper,
yes.
And then sort of say, now what's realistic from all these things, and then put it into Trello.
Yes, yes. I've gone back to Trello since I've had to teach about it, and one of the things I do is I still keep my daily heads up in my notebook. I find that very helpful. But I mirror it with Trello in terms of what's in my today column. And it's the to-do list and the done list that I find particularly helpful as a tracking mechanism and as a prioritization mechanism. I still do that in Trello. Does that make sense? It's a little bit of duplication, but I think I get the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, no, I find you still have to write some things in order for it to sink in.
I think some people find that there's a kinesthetic benefit to writing by hand. It slows you down, and also it seems to help the analytical side of thinking. Jemima, you've been wrestling with this a little bit longer, haven't you? What's the method you have?
Well, actually, you kind of probably hit it on the head there. I like to, I do still keep a notepad because I think it's good to kind of brainstorm in a notepad.
Yeah.
I find writing actually quite, writing stuff out quite therapeutic in a way. So,
yes.
But I'm not a massive fan of to-do lists in notepads because I like to tear pages out of notepads and throw them away.
Steady on.
So my notepads start really, really thick, and then as the weeks go on, they get thinner and thinner and thinner. And I know that I don't like to see my to-do lists done and ticked off. I know they're done and ticked off by the fact that I have the notepad's empty and have to start a new one. So in a way that's I use the technique of moving actions forward onto a clean page, and I get rid of everything that's not relevant anymore. So
yes, so that's a kind of metaphor for starting afresh each day, really, isn't it?
Yeah, which has been really useful in the whole part that we looked at about the powerful daily routine.
Hmm.
I get my cup of coffee, and I know, Patrick, you sort of said you quite like to do this the night before, but I quite like to do it with a cup of coffee in the morning,
Hmm.
and just get rid of everything that's not relevant. I update my I've got OneNote on my computer at work,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I update that with any sort of more like long-term project or
Yeah.
tasks that I've got to sort of think about a bit more, and I pull stuff into my to-do list for the day, then go from there, and then the next morning I kind of get rid of it all and start again. So,
Yes.
but I do find writing quite therapeutic. So
Yes. Yes. That's good. Has the daily heads up material that I've talked people through helped you revisit that whole daily process for you?
for me, I suppose because I work within a remote team. I suppose that's my personal daily heads up is over my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been. I've got a lot better at having a bit more of a heads up whenever I catch up with my colleagues. So we kind of do a bit of a like what's going on in their world, and then we can kind of dive into whatever we're going to do for the meeting. But I do try and use that before we get started with any actions. As I say, because my colleague is in Australia and I have a colleague in the US as well. So
Yes. Good. So, Michael, what about your good news? You jotted a little bit to me by email today.
Yeah. So I was really stuck with a high workload, and one of the other managers has come back off sick leave this week. So I'm hoping to give him one of my teams, which should half my work rate at work. And I've just started looking at Trello today, and that looks really good. Yeah, I still think there's a need to write things down to get it out of your head onto paper.
Yeah.
But I quite like the idea of just moving it around when it's done, and had a little play with that today.
Yeah, I think everybody's got the message, and you're mature enough to know that what I'm not doing here is giving you a rule book and giving you some artifacts and some workflows, and you tailor them to suit yourselves. We're all different. I buy nice Lecterm 1917 German notebooks with good quality paper, and to tear pages out, Jemima, would be heresy.
Yeah, that's why I don't use them. They have to have a perforated edge.
Yeah, actually, my Lecterm, having said that, I think towards the back, some of the pages towards the end are perforated. That's so geeky of me to look. I'm looking now. Or is it Moleskine? I think it might be the Moleskine that do that. Yeah. Anyway, that's fine. Good. It seems like the three of you are getting takeaways that are helping you. That's great. If I may, I'd like to move on to just reviewing where we have got to. We started with an introduction, which had 4 lessons, then gaining clarity from chaos. I presume everybody's covered the gaining clarity from chaos material.
Yes.
Good. By the way, this material is online. I may change it, I may improve it, but your lifetime membership, folks, means you can go back to any of this and refer to it again. But I'm just asking really for what you have made, what you familiarized yourself with so far. Then there's the module on priorities. There were 6 pages to that. And then the powerful daily routine, there were 4 pages to that. Margin had 4 pages, personal projects, 5 pages, and then from push to pull, 4. Now I'm beginning to upload the latest module, which is on energy. You will find, if you go online, that there are two elements to energy. Just a little bit of personal background. I'm doing a lot of work from home now. And as you go through that module, if you are moving towards either being in one office most of the time, or as I am at home most of the time, there's a big challenge, a big health challenge for all of us, and that's the sedentary lifestyle that invites us into. We've really got to do something about that to raise our energy levels and to maintain our health over long term. There's a lot of research accumulating now about disease and the kind of lifestyles that we've constructed for ourselves in the workplace, the office, is not ideal. So what I'm doing now is when it's not bright enough for me to take myself out for a walk or something like that, I will, don't laugh, but I get on the Nintendo Wii and I play tennis and I kill people, and it gets my heart rate up for about 20, 34 minutes, something like that. I can tell you this because I've also got another device, which is a Fitbit watch. Now, it's a very interesting phenomenon that's emerging around this. It seems that what you measure, you manage. You know that old adage? So I'm tracking my sleep and I'm tracking my exercise regime. And it's because it's tracking me, it's beginning to motivate me to do more. So I mention energy and position it as, if you like, the third major dimension of self-leadership. The first two are space and time. But I mention energy because it's actually pretty critical in driving and improving our focus, our alertness, and our overall proactivity, our attack on work. I'm not wanting to be too aggressive. I'm not talking about slaying imaginary people on the Nintendo Wii now, but there needs to be a degree of proactivity to reach our peak. And if we're below par on energy, that can affect us. As a former athlete, Brian, I know that you'll support me in a lot of this.
Yes. Well, most of us tend to have more energy earlier in the day, so
yeah,
I would suspect that's why Jemima likes to do her list with the coffee in the morning, because you're alert, you're ready to go.
Yeah, good point. How about you, Michael? Are you more of a morning or an evening person?
Yeah, get up early and get into work before everybody else.
Mm.
Get organised for the day. Yeah.
What I'd like you to do as you go through the energy module is to actually become more self-aware of your energy levels, if you can, as you go through the day, by wiring people up to various monitors. Scientists have shown that there are peaks and troughs throughout the day, and it's helpful if we can order our work to when we're about to encounter a phase of the day when we're at our peak. Now, the way corporate organizations organize work, meetings, and so on, we sometimes lack that discretion. It's really helpful where we can to fashion days around when we're most active, and when we're not, do something else, like take ourselves up, stand up from the desk and move around.
They reckon, Patrick, the most productive period in corporate life is around mid-morning, between 10 and 11 is when the productivity and the most sensible decisions get made.
Would you send me the reference for that? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it, but I can't remember where I was reading it. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how often our organizations schedule meetings for that time. Is that a good use of our peak, I wonder?
Yeah. It's better than Friday afternoon. So.
Yeah. And of course, one client told me that they find their slack, their margin in the week on Friday afternoons. That's when everything goes quiet, when they've got more discretion about what they can do with their time. But when you're dealing with a virtual team, across different time zones, Jemima. That all gets messed up, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I think the funniest call I had recently was at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. So I got up at 10 to 5 and I logged on and it had been cancelled.
Oh no.
Which is really good, because then I climbed back into bed, but obviously by that point my sleep's disrupted, and you kind of have that dilemma of, do I just get up and carry on, or do I go back to bed and try and get some more sleep and then get up to go to work at a normal time? So yeah, it is difficult. So I do find that, and particularly if I've got calls late in the evening, so sometimes probably every other week I have a call at about 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to make sure that the following morning I don't, I take that time back going into work. So I book out time in my calendar. So to make sure I get some of that time back. But for me, sleep's really, really important. So so I do have to make sure that when I'm going to bed, I'm not setting my alarm clock to get up to get into the office really early if that's not not giving me enough sleep. So
yes.
I'm working for a sleep company. Obviously, they can't do anything about that.
You've got to model this as well, haven't you?
Yes.
But I know that you're an active cyclist, aren't you, Jemima? So you must get a lot of exercise that way, aerobic exercise, cycling.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly though, I think when you have got a lot of pressure or a lot of things happening at work, I still haven't actually been disciplined enough to not let my exercise routine slip, and that tends to be one of the first things that goes. And then actually I do really notice the fact that I haven't done anything. So if I haven't had that opportunity to go and do that, quite often, and my husband has really kind of peaks and troughs in busyness as well. So we quite often find ourselves at 7 o'clock at night saying, right, we have to leave the house and go for a walk and do 3 miles or something, just to really kind of to get ourselves sort of away from work, and it's a really good way of emptying your head from work as well. But unfortunately, when you get busy, you tend to let that part go. So you sort of
yes.
Patrick, I think I may have heard it from you at one point regarding the value of walking.
Yes.
And meeting.
Yes.
Obviously, one-on-one or very small groups. It was found that if you were actually walking and talking, you accomplished a lot more than sitting in a meeting room.
Yeah, that's often the way. I'll cover this in the energy module in a later page, but there's this astonishing statistic that although the brain is only something like 2% of the body weight of a human being, it consumes about 24% of the oxygen, which compared to other organs is phenomenally disproportionate. So it seems to be that when we're getting some oxygen through the brain through exercise, we're actually much more alert mentally and energized in our conversations. When I was a boy, I went to a school run by a religious order, fathers, and we had cloisters in this school. And I was really bemused because the priests and monks would just walk up and down in pairs, talking to each other, aimlessly walking, it seemed, up and down this cloister. And I thought, why? Isn't that a waste of energy? But on the contrary, they had some very vital conversations, and they seemed to enjoy that kind of culture of walking and talking at the same time. But I have no science for that. That's just what I observed.
Well, and on sorry, I don't mean to hijack the meeting, but slightly unrelated topic. I was flying back from Europe just after Christmas, and there was a couple on the flight coming to Bermuda to be married. So the pilot comes out and he says the key to sound marriage is go for walks together. And he'd been married 40 years. He said that was the key to it. So there has to be something to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I might take my wife for a walk tomorrow. Okay, let me talk about the road ahead, what remains. Well, as I said in my email to you all, this is the last scheduled weekly webinar. I mean, I'll still take it on advisement from you guys as to whether you want another video meetup and we can talk about dates and times. But this is the material that I'll be publishing over the next few weeks to complete the material on leading yourself online. But I use the word complete very cautiously because I find this such a rich area. I'm learning all the time, and I may from time to time add some more stuff. But these are the bits that the book covered, but I haven't got round to producing modules for yet. First of all, identity, this whole area of the you bring to work. We've kind of touched on this before, but this is really crucial. One of the things that really bothers me about talking with a lot of my clients, present company accepted, is that they often speak with a language whereby they seem to be somehow captive to their circumstances. That's not the language of a high performer. They use words like, I've got to do this, or I should do this, or I can't do that. And what I'll be exploring is how far can we move from the persona of a captive to a powerful and free person, where we choose to do this rather than that. We choose to say no to things in terms of eliminating unnecessary work. This requires courage, but before we talk about courage, we've really got to decide and settle for ourselves, our identity. So I'll be producing some material on that. Then, what's the future that you are choosing, your destiny? I think I've touched on this already in some of the conversations, but this is worth exploring some more. I've been going through this with some other people, and it's really rather exciting. I personally am getting a lot of value out of this in clarifying my destiny and clarifying how I am going to get there with what I bring to the party. This particular course is a key part in me choosing what destiny I want, because this is innovating a kind of way that I'm increasingly going to do business. But I'd like to encourage you all to think about what future are you choosing for yourself. Presence, how we can train ourselves to be more in the moment. We either worry about the future or keep regretting what's happened in the past, when in truth what matters most is the now. And I'll be talking about some techniques where we can bring ourselves into the moment. And I think part of the value of the daily heads up is it does just that. It brings us back right into the moment where we're thinking about, if not the moment, the day ahead, we're present with the flow of work. And then relationships. This is how we're managing our connections with each other. Are we moving towards important people or away from them? Again, we've got a choice about this. You'll see increasingly I use the word choice because choices are what powerful people make. And they're not afraid of making choices. And also, what boundaries do we put around ourselves in relationships? Appropriate boundaries. I speak to people who all are married, I think, and we're intimate with our partners in ways that we can't be with the rest of the world. It wouldn't be appropriate. So there are degrees of this, and we need to protect ourselves. So in the workplace, we can have people invading our space. We can have people presuming on our time and our energies. And I want to explore how we can manage that as well. Any comments on that kind of thought process for the remaining part of the program?
Yeah, I really like the bit about destiny and what future you're choosing. I think I've had a slightly accidental career, which I've enjoyed. But it is, sometimes I do think that, and I think I probably do find it more difficult to look more to the future. I probably am the sort of person that's a bit more in the present. So yeah, that bit always sort of interests me.
Yeah, I think in some ways the VUCA world that we've been talking about makes it easier for us to choose now. In previous generations, we would be locked into a career. Now we have several jobs through our lifetime. So in a sense, we can begin to use those key moments to reconfigure the direction we're going in. Just a thought. So, any other comments, Brian? What do you think about this way forward?
I find it an excellent way to pull everything together that we've covered, but I'd also like to suggest that perhaps we, after we've covered this material, have the benefit as a group of coming together one more time.
Yeah, I'm very open to that. I'm very open to that. There are actually 12 people in this cohort, some of whom obviously have never joined a meeting, possibly because they're too busy. I think in some cases that is the case. Yeah. I've one client who's been very keen to join this, and he is also in the States right now and can't make this one. But nevertheless, I have this feeling that what I did was to offer a weekly set of meetups without really the demand for it. So I really am happy to do this as often as you guys would like, but I need you to pull it, yeah, rather than me pushing it at you.
Okay.
I will take away that comment though, Brian, and I will circulate everybody with another scheduled meeting. How about towards, well, we're towards the end of March now. How about towards the end of April?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a bit of time to catch up on my last bits of the online modules.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't want to make people feel guilty if they are not keeping up. And I think the weekly cycle kind of deterred people. I don't want to do that. I want to invite them in. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I'll schedule another video meetup. This is not quite a webinar. I don't feel I can glorify it with the name webinar. But I'll schedule one for late April. Thank you for that, Brian. Are you in accord with that, Michael?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
And what do you think about this roadmap for the remainder of the program?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of uncertainty coming up at work in the next 12 months to 2 years. And I think there's definitely a period of time in the next few weeks where I get slightly lighter at work. And I think it's good to go back, reflecting on what we've learned so far, and then pick up any bits I've missed.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it really useful, and it's definitely changed the way I worked. I'm definitely thinking more about slack time and just kind of getting on top of it all rather than it running my life. Yeah. So yeah, it'd be good to catch up again, I think.
Okay, good. Well, my next major launch, I'll be running, my intention is to run Leading Yourself Online again later in the year with a fresh group of people. But my next major launch is going to be this. It's going to be my first book, Practical People Engagement, which project managers call stakeholder engagement. One of the reasons I feel I need to do this is that there's a very interesting remark on one of the reviews on Amazon of the book saying they love the book, but they could really do with some online material. Other people have told me this, so I'm going to start producing a non-accredited course for practical people engagement. I'll probably launch that in April as well. Now, I mention that because I've got ideas about you guys. I'm considering a membership scheme whereby members would have preferential access to all private material. So rather than getting people to sign up and buy each course as it comes through, I'd love it if you guys, for example, became members so that, you know, you could have access to anything I produce. And I'm even thinking about levels of this so that if people want one-on-one coaching, that can be provided, and we can have continuing community meetups. Again, I'd like your reactions to that. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. I think
Okay.
I find it quite useful just having this regular thing and hearing what other people are doing and experiences they've had.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely echo what Michael just said, and it has been really, really useful. I've got, through work, I've got a membership to the CEB, which is the Corporate Executive Board.
Oh, yeah.
And there's obviously, with the HR relation there's a lot of material there, and it is really useful because I like the idea of being able to dip into the bits that are relevant to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can dip in and out of those bits, and they tend to be very much relevant to what's going on in the wider world as well, which is good. So they're kind of say on trend, but and that is very useful.
Oh, that's great. Brian?
Yes, I think it's extremely useful to be able to get access to, continue to get access to this kind of material because, it's in keeping with this whole always trying to improve. So if the material is still available and more is being added, that just helps it even further.
Well, this is all coming out of the crib sheet research we did a few years ago. There were 4 key areas. Self-awareness, which we're covering a lot on Leading Yourself Online. Margins, personal margins, again, we're covering that fairly well. The whole idea of leaning to action. Again, I think I'm producing material on that. But the area that I feel is a bit marginal to Leading Yourself Online is this whole idea of how we lead change through relationships, how we as powerful people can transform this world. And in my former life, it was all to do with the focus on controlling things through methodology. But I am absolutely convinced that as relational beings, change happens much better if we can lead people through that. So that's going to be the topic of my next, it will be a course more than a workshop because there's fairly clear material there. But again, there'll be opportunities to mix that with video meetups, coaching, and so on. So let me crack on because I realize time's pressing on. I just want to give you some thoughts on my learnings from this launch, because I have learned a lot. Keeping the lesson videos and the webinars short seem to be quite key, and people seem to like that. They'd like a more granular approach rather than long, wordy, and lengthy videos. Yes? I mean, that seems
Yes.
the feedback I'm
Yeah.
getting from you all consistently. Use Zoom, not any other platform. When it comes to a small number, that seems to be holding up quite well. But I wonder what your thoughts are on this. Move to a 2 weekly frequency of meetups, or maybe monthly. Move a discussion forum. I mean, the discussion forum really hasn't taken off on Facebook, so I'm minded to bring it back into the membership area. There is technology now for us to do that. So I could bring that just under all one area on the website. So people could have discussions about anything that we've covered, off schedule, if you will, bring in ideas and stories. We could all do that from the website. Anyway, what I'll do.
That's a good idea. Yeah. But maybe that's just my my lack of access to Facebook. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Roz,
which is obviously my choice, but.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've been off Facebook for years, but it was the market that forced me back to it, really.
Mm.
But then I'm a powerful person; I could come off it again, couldn't I?
Yeah, it's all about choice.
I think we've kind of covered this, but what you'll notice on the first module on the first page on the energy module is a short questionnaire. Please, would you complete that? You can put your comments down. You seem to be fans of what I've done. It would be really helpful to me if you left a testimonial there. That would be helpful. Any other comments, trap them there. I'm going to be putting this recording up on the members area tomorrow, so you can go through this again. But have a look in the introduction to the energy margin. There's a little questionnaire there. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, is there anything else? I'm going to stop this video, this PowerPoint now, and come back and look at you guys, because I'm missing seeing you all. I can't see how to get it.
If you go into full screen mode on your Zoom bar on the side, where you can see our faces on the side, I think.
Ah, yes, I can. So I need to go back to stop share. How's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see my ugly mug now. Yeah. Good. Okay. So anything else, guys?
I think just for me, really, one of the things I've really enjoyed learning is sort of applying this to the perspective of other people. So I suppose you can kind of get wrapped up quite selfishly in your daily routine and your own importance of margin and projects. Yeah. But it's starting to consider that everybody else has this as a problem as well. So avoiding piling meetings into people's calendars at certain times, and being a lot more considerate about that for other people, given that it's helped myself.
Yeah.
Then that's actually one thing I hadn't really thought about. I've been quite selfish up until this point, so that's been quite useful.
Well, that's an unintended consequence of the material. Yeah, so it's improved empathy. You've been able to see and put some kind of framework around the pressures on your colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very interesting, Jemima. Yeah. So you can see lack of margin in other people's lives.
Yeah, and I think all those being aware that people are probably there's a lot of people I work with that are probably a lot more chaotic than I am, and so not being considerate when when I'm thinking about meetings or just walking into their space, etc. That sort of thing. Actually, being a bit more considered about that. Because if I find it impacting on me, then if somebody is quite kind of chaotic, then it must be an even bigger impact on them. So yeah, that's sort of, it's kind of made me, I don't know why, made me think of my impact on other people.
Good, thank you. That's really good. Anything else, guys, before we sign off? Notice a facilitator's technique there. Before we sign off, make sure that you haven't got anything else to say. If you're running a workshop and you say, any other questions before we break for coffee, you will not get any other questions. Or the person who does raise a question will be deeply hated over coffee. Guys, thank you. This has been a pleasure tonight. You're three of my favorite people. Well done. Yeah. Okay.
Too kind.
No, not at all. So we will meet up next month. I'll offer you a date and we'll take it from there. But you've always got access to me. Just email me, call me, tweet me, get me on Facebook. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten. You can't do that tomorrow. Whatever. Just get in touch with me. All right?
Okay.
Great.
Have a good evening, everybody. Or in your case, a good morning, Brian. Okay?
Afternoon.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Everyone.